Let's walk through the 5 key steps that you can follow to glow up your finances in 2025. There's a lot of personal finance jargon on the internet, but here at Break Your Budget, we cut through the crap and focus on getting the basics right. If 2025 is the year that you want to start taking your finances seriously, then you need to put together a game plan that focuses on the most important needle-moving activities first. It can be easy to feel overwhelmed and hold yourself back because there is so much financial information on the internet, it can be hard to decide what is actually important. So today, I've created a list for you with 5 of the most important things that you need to do so you can start taking action right away. So with that, let's get into it. Starting with step number 1, it is setting up the right accounts. And there are 4 key accounts that you need to build your financial foundation. First is a checking account, and this is just a basic repository for your money to flow in and for your money to flow out. It's likely that you already have this account, so there's probably no action that you need to take on this one. Second is a high yield savings account, and this is a savings account for your short-term cash savings goals like an emergency fund or going on vacation or saving up for a down payment on a home or saving up for a wedding or anything related to those things. The cash that you earn in this account earns a higher yield compared to a traditional savings account, so it's a much more efficient account for all of your cash savings. Third is a retirement account, and this can be a 401k, a 403b, an IRA, a solo 401k. It totally depends on your employment situation and your current financial status. So choose the right account that makes the most sense for your situation and aim to contribute 2 to 3% of your annual income. And fourth is a brokerage account, which is where you can invest beyond your retirement savings. This is a great account for mid to long-term financial goals that you hope to access and achieve before you reach retirement. I have an entire video on these types of accounts, so you can go back and watch that if you're looking for more details. Moving on to number 2, you need to create a zero-based 3-bucket budget. A zero-based 3-bucket budget is the most optimal way to budget, especially at the beginning of your financial journey. This method allocates every dollar of income you earn towards either an essential expense, a financial goal, or a non-essential expense in that order. It ensures that the money that you're earning is being used and allocated as efficiently as possible, and it also ensures that you are not treating your savings as whatever's left over at the end of the month. Move number 3 is to identify your spending values. The biggest issue that I see with personal finance advice online is that it's so incredibly focused on saving only and paying down debt, and it doesn't focus at all on learning how to properly spend your money. We are fed to just cut and cut and cut and be super frugal and to not buy anything. And while this may work for some and it may be necessary for you at different points in your life, it's not realistic advice for most people. And quite frankly, it's just not how I want to live and probably not how you want to live either. Instead, I suggest that you focus on finding areas of your spending that truly add value to your life and aligning your spending accordingly. This is going to look different for everyone. What I value spending my money on might be different than what you value spending your money on, and that is totally okay. So to figure out what your spending values are, first you're going to look back at some of your spending over the last few months. Start to identify the transactions and the purchases where you feel really good and remember it and associate a positive emotional response. Those are likely the areas that are most aligned with the spending values that are most important to you. As you're going through your transactions and identifying these positive emotional responses, you also want to go through and identify the transactions that elicit a negative emotional response. So these would be things that maybe make you feel kind of icky or gross, or transactions or purchases that you totally don't even remember making. These are going to be areas that you probably want to cut back your spending on. With all of this information laid out for you, you can identify your spending values. So I think this is best illustrated through examples. For me, my spending values are around experiencing my life and making sure that I have high quality things that I use every single day. So first and foremost, one of the areas that I love to spend money on is my coffee. And so I've invested in an at-home coffee setup, and I buy really nice beans that are a little bit more expensive than they necessarily need to be. And I spend time curating my coffee to make sure that it is the best coffee it can be every single day. This sets me up for success. It makes me feel good, and it's something that I have no problem spending money on. Another thing that I have no issue spending money on is high quality clothing and items that I use all the time. So something that I see a lot of people do is they'll invest in things that are super expensive that they use for special occasions. And I totally understand this, but it's not really how I operate. I prefer to invest and spend money on things that I'm using every single day that elevate my day-to-day life. And so this could be high quality clothes that are made up of 100% natural materials. It's investing in my coffee setup. It's investing in high quality skincare products and hair care products that make me feel and look my best. But for you, maybe you value spending your money on traveling, or you value spending your money on going out to dinner or going out and having different experiences. That's totally fine. And that's what makes personal finance so personal. The goal ultimately is to identify what truly adds value to your life, what does not add value to your life, and align your money accordingly. Financial move number 4 is to save an emergency fund. Your emergency fund is your financial fire extinguisher, and it really does need to be your very first financial priority. The goal with your emergency fund is to save 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenses in a high yield savings account. That way, if you have an emergency like losing your job or some sort of medical emergency, or maybe you have a loss in your family or whatever, there are so many different things that would constitute an emergency. You have funds set aside to help you bridge the gap and navigate the situation without having to worry about putting money on a credit card that you may not have. Not having an emergency fund can put you in a precarious financial situation, because if you do have an emergency and you don't have any money to cover it or any money to bridge the gap, you will have no other option but to put those expenses on a credit card and incur credit card debt. And credit card debt is incredibly difficult to get out of. So calculate what you spend on a monthly basis. This is something we discussed in tip number 2 when you're building out your zero-based 3-bucket budget, and multiply that number first by 3 and then by 6. Focus on building up a 1-month and then a 3-month emergency fund first. And after that 3-month threshold, if you feel more comfortable saving up a 6-month emergency fund, you can balance that with some of your other financial goals. Oh, and make sure it's in a high yield savings account. Moving on to the 5th and final financial move that you can make to glow up your finances this year: establish a financial routine. I always say, the fortune is in the follow-up. And without set accountability built into your schedule, you have no way to actually stick to your budget and reach your financial goals. It's really easy to sit down and feel super motivated and create a budget for yourself at the top of the new year. It's much more difficult to actually follow through on all of those promises and goals that you've set. Because once the initial motivation wears off, all you have is a budget. And if you don't have the discipline to actually go back and review it and stick to it, then all of that effort was kind of for nothing. A financial routine is simple. It's a dedicated 10 to 15 minute meeting that you create with yourself every single week. Mine is on my calendar. I do it on Mondays at 5 p.m. with my inner circle. It's basically a period where we get onto a call live and spend the 15 to 20 minutes to go through and track our expenses together. We talk about it and then we hang up. And that's literally all there is to it. If you want to do it on your own, all you're doing is setting aside 10 to 15 minutes to track your expenses, to self-reflect on how you've spent so far throughout the month, and then to make any necessary adjustments to your budget going forward to make sure that you stay on track. A major mistake that I see is people will totally discard their budget when they have something unexpected pop up, or if they go over in a certain category, and they'll just tell themselves, oh, I'll start again next month and I'll stay on track. This is setting you up to fail. It's not a realistic plan for creating and sticking to a budget. And honestly, it's something that is going to continue to hold you back if you don't implement structure and accountability into your financial life. Accountability is ownership. And this year, if you really do want to take your finances seriously, you need to be implementing the steps to truly own your money. So to summarize, the 5 money moves that I would make if this was the year that I was going to start taking my finances seriously is: first, I would make sure that I set up the right accounts. Second, I would create a zero-based 3-bucket budget. Third, I would take some time to identify my spending values. Fourth, I would save an emergency fund. And fifth, I would create a financial accountability routine. If you have any questions about any of these steps, let me know. And if you enjoyed this video, it would mean the world to me if you could hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel. And with that, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.